So when the tough times come, and they're going to come, when you feel like you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's a part of the process. The people that will make it in this life, they look around for the circumstances that they want, and if they can't find them, they create them. People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do. People that are hungry are relentless. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry refuse to give up. People that are hungry, no excuse is acceptable. It's my time. It's possible. It's necessary. It's me. It's worth it. You gotta be hungry.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, Manga chapter 551. And the Lord of Death is hungry, and the only thing that will appease her appetite is the flesh of the Kwangrong, and the only thing that can quench her thirst will be the blood of Zhao's soldiers. Then and only then will she be satisfied. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this to happen. I've been waiting for this for a long time. And when it does finally happen, it's going to be a glorious day. Because you have to realize she's fighting at such a disadvantage. It's like she's fighting with one arm tied behind her back. Because at the moment, the man who was sent here to help her has done nothing but hinder her. And I know some of you guys may think I'm a Hecky hater, but the truth is, I'm not. I actually feel sorry for the guy, especially after what happened to him this chapter. And if he keeps screwing up, getting ass whoopings on a regular basis may become a regular thing, to the point he may want to start looking into some self-defense courses.
I mean, it sounds great, but I don't know, it just seems too expensive.
Okay. I know what we're dealing with now. You're one of those soft people.
Excuse me?
You're lazy. Just wasting my time. You're a weak person. I could give you the confidence you need to correct the situation, but I don't know. Doesn't even seem like it'd probably take to you.
Oh, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank yourself. Before you go, let me leave you with one thing. You will always regret this, and you will never be anything that's worthy of anything.
Alright, so the chapter starts off with us going back to Kanyo. And it's actually been a long time since we've been here. I mean, to put it in perspective, guys, the last time we've been to Kanyo is around chapter 515. I was on like my first or second review back then. And when we get to the capital, we see that Ace is asleep along with all the other court officials. And I know that this is meant to show that they've also been working hard and are kind of exhausted, but I couldn't help but to think of how things have changed. Because when a certain someone was still lurking, Ace wouldn't dare be caught with his eyes closed. But we see that he still rests with one eye open because he's the first one to notice footsteps rushing to the throne room. And as the doors burst open, we find out that the second messenger has arrived. And the officials are saying that it's about time. It's been many days since they received their last message. And they want to know right away, why isn't Osen sending regular updates? And the messenger really appears to be very exhausted. But he apologizes to the officials, letting them know that their path through Retsubi had been sealed off since the Zhao recaptured it. And him, along with all his other fellow messengers, had to actually sneak through the mountains to be able to escape from Zhao. And many of the other messengers were captured, and he fears that most of them have died. And as he's coughing and wheezing, trying to catch his breath, Rishi jumps in, telling him to just quit it with the excuses and hurry up and give his report before he collapses on the spot. And Rishi has some nerve, man. He has no idea what this man went through to get this message there. It's no easy feat to traverse the mountains of Zhao.
Go yourself in. Be careful where you step, man. Be careful where you step in. You're gonna fall, blah, 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 blah. You're gonna fall,
So after being briefed by Shobunkun of what the last messenger said, the current messenger begins to maneuver the pieces on the strategy board, updating all the current positions of the armies. And the news that shocks the officials the most is that Osen is up against Riboku. But Rishi tells them to calm down, being as Shohiken was already able to predict that far ahead. And we find out that this particular messenger was attached to the Osen army, and that he was only a part of the battle up until the third day. In the way the officials questioned that it was only up to the third day, you know that there's been some sort of time skip. Question is, how far ahead? But Kyoku says that even though this information is late, it's still better than nothing. And Shobunkun goes on to question the messenger about how is the battle actually going. And the messenger lets them know that up until he left, even though they were at a numbers disadvantage, they were pretty much on equal grounds. because both the Zhao and Quinn center armies were non-committed due to the excellent fighting of both the right and the left wings. And he lets them know a special note were the Gakukai unit, the Gyokuho units, and the Haishin unit. And then it's mentioned that all 3 of the young men summoned by Shohiken are all making waves. And of course, Sei's happy to hear that his boy's out there doing big things. It makes him so proud. Shishi brings up the point to Shobunkun, should they really be celebrating the fact that they're able to stay even with Riboku in this particular situation? And Shobunkun says it's pretty much all dependent upon whether they have enough food and supplies to outlast Gyo. Because if they don't, then the dwindling food supply will be like a noose around the Quinn army's neck, slowly tightening with each passing day. And Rishi actually brings up a great point, saying, you're telling me that despite having no idea whose food will run out first, Osen, of all people, still chose to make such a huge gamble? And it's funny that Rishi is just coming to this conclusion, but this is actually something that Shohiken has thought of ever since they first got word of the siege on Gyo. And it seems like ever since then, he's been trying to figure out in his head if Osen is the type of man who would take such a huge gamble. But this is where we know that Osen has to have some sort of trick. Osen has to have something up his sleeve, because there's no way, like everything we've learned about Osen, we already know that Osen does not pick battles that he cannot 100% guarantee. He is the closest of all the generals to Hakuki. And just like Renpa let us know, Hakuki, no matter how much bait you would lay down for him, he would never take it, no matter how tempting. So Osen did not do this on a whim. Osen has some sort of plan. But Shobunkun says there's no need agonizing over something that they don't know. What they need to be doing is trying to figure out how many days worth of food do their men have. And Kyoku asked the messenger, does he know the answer to that question? Because due to all the twisting and turning that the Osen army did once they left for Tsubi, even they at the headquarters were unable to keep track of their food stores. And the messenger says that he does know this number in a roundabout way, because due to the high-risk nature of their job and them perhaps being captured, they weren't given the exact number. But they were given rough estimates, and the food was divided between all 3 armies in such a manner that it would last each army 13 days. But since he was with the Osen army up till the 3rd day, when he left, they would have had 10 days remaining. So of course, after considering everything the messenger said, the main question now is, which Shobunkun is quick to ask, is if they had 10 days remaining when you left, then how many days did it take you to get here? And the messenger responds, 5 days. This news sends the court into a panic, realizing now that in 5 days their armies will starve. They see that now the Quinn army will somehow have to defeat Riboku within the next 5 days. Panicked officials are looking to Shohiken for answers, but Ace calms everyone down, telling them do not let their fear overcome them. Telling them they knew that from the very beginning that this could be the most difficult battle they ever faced, which is why they sent the best of the best and prepared them to the utmost of their abilities. All they can do now is believe in the men on the battlefield. This seems to calm everyone down except the messenger, who is still wheezing and coughing after his long journey. And Sei, ready to relieve him of his duties after a job well done, tells him to go and get himself some rest. But before he can do that, he has one last tidbit of information that he must pass on. And he informs everyone that on his way there, he ran into a dying messenger of the Hecky army. And he let him know that the Hecky's army's food stores had been burned to a cinder. And that the Hecky and Yotanwa armies would run out of food days earlier than the rest of the armies. And now you can see why this messenger was coughing up a lung. He didn't want to have to be the one to deliver this bad news.
A man in West Virginia faces assault charges after police say he passed gas in fantasy. According to police reports from St. Cruz, I can't even get through this.
He passed the gas so loudly the officer said it was, quote, very odorous and created contact of an insulting or provoking nature.
Then we find ourselves on the battlefields of Ryoyu on the 8th day, and we see some of the Quinn soldiers are being taken down by the Kwangrang, who know that they haven't been eaten and are very weak due to their food being burnt. And over at Hecky, we see that he's looking defeated. He's getting reports that some of his units are disappearing and some are requesting to fall back. And from this vantage point, it appears that the sun is actually setting on the 8th day of fighting. And back at the camp, we see that the mountain tribe is delivering some food supplies to the Hecky army. And Katari tells Hecky that this is all they're able to spare and that it's a lot less than the day before. But Hecky says not to worry, even if they were only to receive half of their food shares, they would have nothing but gratitude to have something to fill their bellies. And even though Kitari is not able to speak the language, she was actually able to pick up on the word half. And she asked her brother, did this man think that they were the ones getting half of their portion? Hecky, not knowing what she's talking about, looks dumbfounded, but is soon hit with a knee that shatters any language barrier. And at this point, having both friend and enemy beat up on you, I'm sure Hecky has no idea who's on his team anymore.
Den kramen från Henrik Eriksson på Bibic. Och sen den vänstern då. Höger, förlåt, höger då.
Because what Hecky doesn't know is that the mountain people have actually been eating half of whatever they've been giving them. So the way I took it was they were bringing 2 carts of food to the Hecky army while only having 1 cart of food for Yotanwa's army. And they would have to forage for the rest, and that they're the ones who are actually starving. And as Kitari's trying to calm her down, Kitari is egging on the plains folk. And she even goes on to say if they had kept eating normally, they would have run out of food ages ago due to Hecky's big mistake. But as she's getting her frustration out on Hecky, she's interrupted by shouting that makes the men believe they're under attack. But what it turns out to be is that the mountain tribes have started to fight amongst themselves. And this actually started to happen around yesterday night. And what they're starting to fight over are the horses, because they're so hungry that they need to use the horses for food. But since people treasure their horses and aren't trying to give them up, it's leading to fighting, especially since none of these tribes really like each other anyway. And as Kitari tells the plain dwellers to look on and see the mess they've created, because as the hunger becomes worse, they won't even be in any shape to fight anymore. And then we see that Yotanwa has arrived on the scene with the king of Figo, and asks her what now, because at this rate the army will collapse in 3 days if something isn't done fast. And Yotanwa says she knows, and it's not like their food stores would last another 3 days anyway, which seems to surprise the king of Figo. And she tells Baggio to summon all the chiefs, because she's about to share the upcoming battle plan, one that will decide whether they win or lose, or live or die. And that was a chapter in a nutshell, guys. And to me, this was a pretty good chapter of Kingdom. I know it was mainly a setup chapter, but even Kingdom setup chapters are really good chapters, usually packed with a lot of information, and this chapter was no exception. We got to see what was going on in Kanyo, and we haven't been here in a long time. Seeing how these guys were stressing and waiting on reports was pretty cool. You can see that the tension is high even back at the palace, because it's easy to forget that if things go south on this campaign, all the other states are on standby, watching all the developments between Zhao and Quinn with a close eye. And if the Quinn army was to be wiped out here, their military forces would be so weak that they would probably be at the mercy of the other states. And finding out that Shohiken has no idea what Osen is up to actually does answer a lot of questions. Now we know that any plans that Osen has moving forward shouldn't have Shohiken involved. So thinking that Shohiken was going to provide any aid at all is now out the window. So now we at least know that's not what Osen was asking Shohiken about when he first set off for battle. And even though Shohiken knows that Osen's not one to gamble, even he can't help but to struggle and try to figure out what Osen's up to. And I really liked how there was a time skip this chapter, because it really sped things up. Now we're down to the final 5 days. And I know everyone wants to know what happened in those 5 days, but if you think about it, if Roboku thinks the letter is real, or if the letter is actually real, then him having 20 days and knowing that the Quinn army has less, he really doesn't have to engage them that much. He can kind of have his army sit back and just wait. That may have been why we skipped those days, because there really might not be much to see. Because if Osen thinks he's starving out Gyo, and Roboku thinks he's starving out Osen, neither one of them have a motivation to really engage each other. So perhaps all the fighting was lighter in those 5 days. But one thing we know for sure is that the food is running out for the mountain tribe, and their battle will have to come to an end one way or another. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Yotanwa's going to win this battle. Now, it may not be one-sided, it might be a little back and forth, but to be honest, they really don't have much time left. It seems like they have less than 3 days, because Yotanwa said the food's not even going to last 3 days, so things have to get wrapped up pretty quickly. So I would think at the most 2 days, if not the very next day, something major should happen on this battlefield. And even though it pains me to say, I do believe that Hecky will have some sort of redeeming moment, but I'm really interested to see what Yotanwa's plan's going to be. She's gathering all the elders, so hopefully we'll actually get to see some sort of tactics from her, unless it's just going to be some brute strength, but I think she actually has something up her sleeve with this one. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's review. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comments section below. Please leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.